What happens when a soulful singer sits across from one of television's sharpest tongue sand? The conversation takes a turn no one expected. What began as a simple promotional appearance for Teddy Swims on The View unraveled into one of the most uncomfortable, unforgettable clashes in daytime television history. By the end, Teddy was storming off set. The hosts were left speechless, and the audience sat frozen in stunned silence. This is the story of how a routine interview became a viral firestorm. The studio lights blazed as Teddy Swims' real name, Jotun, dimmed into The View's iconic hot seat. His latest album was climbing the charts, and the vibe at first was light. The hosts beamed, the audience applauded, and Joy Behar leaned forward with that trademark smirk. "So, Teddy, Joy," began, her voice deceptively casual. "Your music has this raw, emotional quality. Tell Meadows that authenticity come naturally. Or is it something you've learned to craft for the audience?" Teddy rested his tattooed hands on his knees, his voice calm but steady. "Joy, authenticity. It isn't something you can fake. My music comes from real struggles, things I've lived through. It's just who I am." "Real struggles," Joy repeated, her brows arching. "See, I was reading about your background, Smalt, Georgia. Long road to success. But let me ask you this. In today's music industry, don't you think artists, Sameta Massimo's man, fake those kinds of stories? You know, for relatability." The air shifted. Teddy's expression darkened, just slightly. "I'm Sorjar. You suggesting my experiences aren't genuine?" "Oh no." Joy waved a dismissive hand. "Not you, specifically. I'm just saying labels love a good rag storage's arc. Sometimes those stories get, let's say, enhanced. For marketing purposes, enhanced." Teddy repeated, his jaw tightening. "With all due respect, Joy, I don't think you understand what you're implying." Whoopi Goldberg jumped in, trying to lighten the mood. But Joy wasn't finished. "Look, Teddy, I'm not attacking you. I'm just pointing out these career journeys often follow a formula. The struggle, the big break, the emotional connection. It's practically a template." That was the moment Teddy leaned forward, his voice cutting through the silence. "A template? You're saying the years I spent working construction, playing dive bars for 20 people, getting rejection after rejection, that was just following a template?" Teddy Joy began. "No, let me finish." The first time, his southern drawl carried steel. "You're talking about things you clearly don't understand. You want to talk about templates? Let's talk about the one where talk show hosts downplay other people's struggles because they've never had to wonder where their next meal was coming from." The audience fell silent. The other hosts exchanged uneasy glances. Joy's face flushed, but her voice hardened. "Excuse me? I've had my share of struggles too. Thank you very much. I didn't just fall into this career." "I'm sure you've had challenges," Teddy shot back. "But questioning whether my story is real, whether my music comes from an authentic place, that's not just insulting to Mitts, insulting to everybody who's ever had to fight for something." Sarah N. tried to pivot to Teddy's upcoming tour, but it was too late. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Then Joy delivered the line that broke everything. "Maybe you're being a little too sensitive here, Teddy. This is television. We ask tough questions. If you can't handle that, maybe you're not ready for this level of success." It landed like a slap. Teddy sat back, breathing heavy. Tay's eyes narrowed, his voice low but thunderous. "Too sensitive. Lady Ove spent the last 5 minutes questioning my integrity, my authenticity, my entire life story. And now you want to call me too sensitive?" Joy opened her mouth, but Teddy cut her off. The dam had broken. "You want to know what's not authentic? Sitting behind that desk, cashing 6-figure checks, tearing down people who've actually lived through something real. You want to talk about templates? Fine. Let's talk about the one where privileged media personalities think they can dissect someone's entire life in a 5-minute segment. The audience gasped. Cameras caught every flash of anger in Teddy's eyes. What came next would make headlines around the world. Joy's mouth dropped open, clearly not expecting that level of fire from someone she'd likely assumed would be just another agreeable guest. Now wait just a minute. No, you wait, Teddy snapped, pushing back his chair and rising to his feet. The sudden movement jolted the studio, even forcing the cameras to scramble to reframe him. The audience gasped. I came here to talk about my music, Teddy continued, his voice booming across the set. To share something I'm passionate about with your viewers. Instead, you decided to turn this into some kind of cheap gotcha moment. Okay, let's everybody take a breath, Whoopi Goldberg said, her tone calm but urgent. Her hands raised like she was trying to defuse a bomb. But Joy leaned forward, her competitive fire fully ignited. Teddy, you're acting like a child. This is what interviews are. We ask questions. We dig deeper. If you can't handle that, maybe you're not cut out for this. Teddy blinked in disbelief, his southern drawl sharpening as his temper boiled. Over a child? You want to know what's childish? Joy? Sitting there with that smug little smirk, pretending you've got me all figured out when you don't know the first damn thing about my life. The other co-hosts squirmed. Tony Hostin fiddled with her notes. Lissa Farah Griffin sank into her chair, visibly uncomfortable. The audience, however, was rivet watching a car crash in slow motion. I know enough. Joy shot back, her voice dripping condescension. Every singer who sits in that chair has the same sob story. Hard childhood, big dreams, breakthrough. Moment, it's all rehearsed, like you went to the same media training seminar. That was it. Teddy stepped closer to the desk, his fists clenched. Media training? Are you out of your mind? Do you think sleeping in my car between gigs was media training? You think working double shifts just to afford 1 hour of studio time was some kind of marketing strategy? I think Joy started, but Teddy sliced the air with his hand, silencing her. No, you've said enough. Now it's my turn. His voice dropped low, controlled, dangerous. The truth is, you're so out of touch, you can't even recognize authenticity when it's sitting in front of you. You've lived in this bubble so long, you've forgotten what it's like to actually struggle. Joy's face burned crimson. How dare you make assumptions about my life? Teddy let out a laugh, but it was sharp, humorless. Oh, that's rich coming from the woman who just spent the last 10 minutes making assumptions about mine. The difference, Joy, is my assumptions come from watching you sit here, acting like you're above me. Yours come from a headline you skimmed 5 minutes before the show. The studio felt suffocating. Even the crew used to the views frequent. Fireworks seemed stunned into stillness. Sarah N. tried desperately to pivot. Maybe we can talk about the amazing response to your latest single. Teddy turned to her, softening briefly. Sarah, I appreciate you trying to keep this professional. But let's be real, we're past that point now. Then he turned back to Joy, his eyes blazing. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to say what I came here to say. Then I'm going to walk out of here. And for once in your life, you're going to listen without cutting me off. Joy sputtered. Excuse me, this is my show actually. It's their show too. Teddy shot back, gesturing to the other hosts. But you seem to forget that. He took a breath, steadying himself, his voice now carrying something deeper, raw honesty. I grew up in a town where Friday night football was the only excitement. My dad worked in a factory. My mom cleaned houses. We didn't have money for lessons or fancy equipment. I taught myself everything. At 22, I was broke, playing in bars, where half the crowd was too drunk to care. I didn't have connections. I didn't have a safety net. I had a voice and a dream, and the refusal to give up. The studio went silent. Even Joy seemed caught off guard by the gravity in his words. So when you sit there with your comfortable salary and guaranteed platform and question whether my story is real. Teddy's voice broke slightly, but he pushed forward. You're not just insulting me. You're insulting every single person who's ever had to choose between paying rent and chasing their dream. Whoopi nodded solemnly, clearly moved. But Joy couldn't stop herself. Look, Teddy, you're taking this way too personally. I'm just doing my job. Teddy stared at her, disappointment heavy in his eyes. Your job is supposed to be having conversations, not tearing people down for sport. But maybe we just have different definitions of what a job really is. Then he turned to the other hosts, Sand finally, to the camera. To everyone watching. I'm sorry. You tuned in to hear about music, and instead you got this circus. That's not what I came here for. Finally, his gaze locked back onto Joy. His voice, quiet but cutting, carried the final blow. I've met a lot of people in this business, some real, some fake. But never anyone so determined to diminish others just to make themselves feel important. The audience erupted not in applause, but in stunned, buzzing disbelief. With that, Teddy Swims pulled off his mic, placed it on the desk, and walked out. The camera cut to commercial. That's not journalism. That's just sad. The words landed like a punch. For once in her long career, Joy had no comeback. Her mouth opened, then shut again, leaving her uncharacteristically silent. The other hosts froze, unsure whether to jump in or let the clash burn itself out. Teddy unclipped his microphone with a deliberate calm that carried more weight than shouting ever could. You know the difference between people like me and people like you, Joy, he said, his voice steady. When I fail, I fall alone. When you fail, you drag everyone around you, down with you. Joy snapped back into motion, her voice sharp. Hold. I'm done holding on. Teddy cut in, stepping back from his chair. I came here with respect for this show, ready to share something real. But I won't sit here and let you turn my life into your punching bag just because you're in a mood. Whoopi tried one last time to reel the moment back. Teddy, please. Let's Whoopi, I respect you. Always have, Teddy interrupted, softening slightly as he nodded at her. Then at the other women. Same goes for Sarah, Sunny, Alyssa. You actually understand what an interview is supposed to be conversation, not ambush. But this. He flicked his hand toward Joy without looking at her. This isn't professional. This isn't even entertaining. This is just cruel. And I won't be part of it. Joy's face flushed scarlet. Her hands gripped the desk like she could crush it. You can't just walk out because you don't like the questions. Teddy turned toward the exit. Watch me. The audience gasped. 2 words, sharper than anything else he had said, instantly, seared into the memory of everyone in the room. As he moved off set, Joy shouted after him, her voice rising. See, this is exactly my point. You can't handle pushback, so you storm off like a child. That's not authentic, Teddy. He stopped dead. For a moment, it looked like he might whirl around and reignite the fight. Instead, without turning back, he said evenly, You know what's authentic? Joy. Knowing when someone isn't worth your time. The words hung in the air like a blade. Then he added, I hope this moment was worth it, because you just showed the world exactly who you are. The audience, silent for so long, erupted into murmurs, half siding with Teddy. Half stunned by the spectacle, Joy rose from her chair, unwilling to give up the last word. So I'm the villain now. Just for asking tough questions. This is what's wrong with your generation. You expect everyone to kiss your ass. That broke Teddy's restraint. He spun, fire in his eyes, his voice cutting. Through the studio, my generation, he said, incredulous. We're out here working 3 jobs just to afford rent. We're inheriting a broken world, trying to carve meaning out of chaos. We don't need praise, Joy. We need people to stop tearing us down for sport. Joy opened her mouth, but Teddy raised his hand. No, I'm finished. Finished with this conversation, finished with this attitude, finished pretending this is journalism. He turned to the camera, his tone shifting from fury to conviction. And to anyone watching who's ever been told your dreams don't matter, your struggles aren't real, or your story isn't worth telling, don't listen. Your voice matters. Your experiences are valid. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for who you are or where you came from. With that, Teddy walked off the set, leaving behind a stunned panel, a buzzing audience, and an empty chair that spoke louder than any words. Joy scrambled to recover. Well, she said to the camera, her tone brittle. That was unexpected. I guess. Some people just can't handle commercial, Whoopi interjected firmly, cutting her off. But the damage was done in less than 15 minutes. A routine interview had detonated into a viral moment destined to be dissected across social media. Late-night monologues and think pieces for weeks to come. The showdown between 90 Swims and Joy Behar had become more than a clash of personalities. Was a generational flashpoint, a reminder that behind every success story lies a person who clawed their way forward. And sometimes the most powerful move isn't fighting back, it's walking away.